Welcome back to Drew Does Trucks. If you've been following along my Dream Shop playlist, I demolished a few outbuildings on my property, used my compact tractor to prepare a site, poured a slab, and ended my last video ready to build my new steel garage. I ordered this building from a vendor online who was willing to place a completion date in our contract. That company was Universal Metal Buildings out of Mount Airy, North Carolina. The total price came to $8,900 with a deposit of $1,335 due immediately to order the building. This building was ordered around September of last year. Given the constraints of my budget and the size of my site, I decided to go with a 24 by 30 building with 10-foot sidewalls. I thought that would give me the flexibility to do what I planned on doing in the building while still staying within my budget. I knew I wanted the biggest doors I could fit, which turned out to be 10-foot wide by 9-foot tall doors. I decided not to buy roll-up doors offered through the company and instead had them frame out the openings for traditional garage doors. Even though I hustled my butt off to get the site ready for the building, in the end, the building company kept rescheduling me, eventually moving the estimated build date past the date of my contract. Although I was unhappy, I had no choice but to wait for them to come through, as they had a sizable deposit, and restarting the process with another company would have just led to further delays. Almost 30 days late, the crew finally came up from North Carolina and began assembling the building as you see here. It was actually really interesting to watch them work, and they seemed to take pride in their work. As you can see here, they worked quickly but carefully, and they really did seem to take pride in what they were doing. I talked to the guys multiple times throughout the process, and really the only time I interfered with them was when I asked them to put the pink foam sill seal tape that you see blowing around in this photo under the steel perimeter frame that they bolted down to my slab. I have read multiple accounts online of people with slabs that leaked under the steel foundations, and I was hoping to avoid that. As of the filming of this video, which is about 6 months later, it's worked really well to keep water out from under the slab. There was a little issue with the building that you'll see covered in detail at the end. It really did sour my impression of the company, just the way that they dealt with it and how hard it was to reach anyone at the company and how difficult they were to deal with when I did reach them. But I really don't have any beef with the installation crew other than the things that they did that led to that situation. I have considered doing a video on the pitfalls of steel building construction. It seems that a lot of these crews don't have particular attention to detail, and the exact building that you specify in the contract is the one you're going to get. So if you want something like 4-foot centers on your trusses so that you can sheathe them in plywood or use 4x8 sheets of foam insulation, then you need to specify that in your contract. Because my building ended up being built with like 50 to 53 inches between the trusses, which was just enough that traditional building materials wouldn't fit between them, which really made it difficult in the later steps of this project, which will be uploaded shortly, covering insulating the building and other tasks. I'm sure that would have been more expensive because it would have required an additional truss to obtain that 48-inch spacing, but I think it would have been well worth it, and I would have saved a lot on other materials in the future. But that wasn't something that I considered with a steel building being non-standard and not having a traditional 16-inch stud or anything like that to even compare it to. You're going to see my first video in person here in a second, as I was filming the video you're watching now on my small GoPro and just had received a replacement GoPro for my last broken one. Okay, this is my first video on my new Hero 9. It's got a front-facing camera, which is pretty crazy. The guys showed up at 7:30 this morning, got to work. They've already got basically the main structure of the building up. Got some sheet metal up holding these end trusses together. The other ones are all kind of held up with these little diagonals. It's pretty interesting to see. Right now they're squaring everything up, so hopefully it'll be done by tonight. The garage door company just called. They said my garage doors are done. They offered to drop them off today, but I said no. I have this truck in my driveway, so hopefully Saturday they'll drop them off. But we keep an eye on these guys. They look like they know what they're doing, but just like to see everything goes together. So, what's up, bud? This is my new camera. It's got a screen on the front so you can see when you're filming yourself. Is that cool? What do you think of the new building?
What?
What do you think of the new building?
Good.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be done by the time you get home from school. We'll see.
Where's the door?
The what?
Door.
I don't know. They haven't put it in yet. So anyway, I'm gonna keep watching this. It's kind of interesting to watch it all go together, and I'll update you guys when there's a little more progress. One thing that may not be obvious from the video I want to mention is that this crew worked really hard by checking their diagonals multiple times to make sure that all the measurements on this building were square and that all the corners on the sheet metal lined up with the other corners. And that's important because if you end up with a building that's not square or that's not cosmetically appealing, they're going to stand on the contract and say they built you a building to the dimensions that you requested in the contract, and that there's nowhere in there that requires them to build it with sheet metal that lines up. But anyway, I'm going to shut up and let you guys enjoy some music while you watch them build the rest of the building.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Alright guys, just an update. It is still really windy and cold. I do not have any kind of media mod for this GoPro yet. But this is the building as it's coming along. This is the door. I need to check the invoice. I think I paid $330 for this door. And it's really ugly. And looks kind of crappy. But I guess if nothing else, that'll give me a jam to put a different door in down the road. They've got most of the paneling on. I guess I'll start on the roof. I'm gonna go run and get these guys some lunch. They asked for pizza, so we'll get them that. Got a little fire pit going for them. Try and keep them warm. But what I see looks pretty good. I kind of see some of the little things that make these buildings cheap, but it is what it is. You know, I comparison shop this against some other buildings, some more expensive, some less expensive. I think I had a pretty good understanding of what I was getting. So everything looks good so far. So we'll get these guys some pizza for lunch. We'll come back and see how things are progressing. All right, guys, the crew just left. Been kind of trying to help them and busy doing stuff all day. But as you can see behind me, the building is done. I paid, you know, $8,900 for this building. I think I put the deposit down on it like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I was complaining about the door being ugly, so I paid $330 for it. But you know, the cheapest door I can get at Home Depot right now is about $280. And then when they install it, they put this trim in so that it looks nice. And then I didn't realize it at the time. There are no horizontal beams, I guess for lack of a better word, between these uprights. So when they install a door or a window, you get a horizontal beam to kind of frame that in. And then you get a vertical to finish framing that in. So kind of worth the money, I guess, to get what you need now. Even if I decide to change this door later, I've got this nice, I mean not nice, but it's a aluminum jamb. So all I need to do is change the door. They had a bunch of extra metal left over, and I'm really happy with the structural integrity of it. These guys have been climbing all over it. It doesn't move. The only spot I didn't really like, I went with the absolute biggest doors I could fit in this building. And as a result, these two uprights are very close together. If you look at the back wall, you have 4 spaced out, and it is very strong and does not move when you shake it. The front, you have 1 here, 2 in the middle, and then 1 on the side. So you still have 4, they're just spaced out. So what I found was, when you give this a little push, like it could be stronger. So my first thought was like, well, you could add a an upright here, but you don't ever really want to go. You don't ever really want to go to the middle of this because it's unsupported. So really, the way to reinforce that would be to run an extra beam between those two. And I mean, you could add some uprights there and stuff, kind of basically build a truss out. But the way this is designed, with those coming down to this and not really being load bearing, I don't know. Anyway, long story short, they left me some brackets and some beams because I'm gonna truss this in. I'm gonna cut these and put they actually gave me a bunch of metal. It was nice of them, but I'm gonna put maybe 4 of them up through here and truss that together, and that way these two are sharing that load the whole way up. That should make it a little stiffer, and then we may go back and brace that. I mean, this is all steel, of course, but a 2x4 would brace that, the sheet metal there. The other thing they left me is a long enough beam. I asked them if they didn't mind leaving one that I can screw in here, just so I have something to mount my my box to. This is all kind of a situation. My electrician is coming tomorrow to take a look at some other stuff here at the house, so he's gonna take a look at that for me. I had them add, I think I mentioned this earlier, I had them add the sill seal, which ended up working out great. This slab is so flat that it worked out perfect. Gave me a nice seal along the bottom. There are only a couple spots, and they're mostly here on the back at the top, where you can see a little waviness in the sheet metal. Most of it's pretty good. I did a lot of research before I bought this building. One thing I did not pay extra for was painted hardware. Painted hardware actually adds a significant expense. I think it was a couple $100 for this building. They get charged more for the painted hardware, so they charge that to you if you want the painted hardware. Now, if you look at a regular house with siding, you have no exposed fasteners. With a metal building, people don't think about it, you're always going to have exposed fasteners. So regular hardware, like you buy at the hardware store, is cheap, and it's, you know, galvanized steel. The painted fasteners are galvanized steel dipped in white paint. So by the time they use their nut drivers to put these in, they're already going to start to chip and scratch away at that paint. And I have seen a lot of pictures and stuff online of painted hardware after it sat out for a couple years, and most of it was already kind of silver. The paint had worn off, was rusting. So to me, like, that's not worth paying extra for. You're going to see those screw heads. What difference does it make if they're silver or white? I thought they did a good job with the eaves. They have these really cool sheet metal pieces that kind of wrap around the edges. They look like they do a pretty good job sealing everything off from air infiltration. I do not like the way the sheet metal just hangs over the edge unsupported, but that's the way they do them. It seems to me like you'd want to run that beam out to the edge of the sheet metal, even if those didn't go all the way up, because the sheet metal is ribbed, so it's strong in that direction, but it's not strong, I guess, laterally here. So wind could still pick up and kind of rattle that. But anyway, that's the way they did it, so that's the way it is. Pretty much the rest of it's all good. I got the name of the concrete guy. He said he will come back and help me do some maybe 4-foot ramps out here to transition that. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with sealing this, because I need to get that going, get it sealed. I really wanted to get it sealed before I start moving stuff in. I may just go with a simple spray-on sealer. And then it's an echo, which I'm sure is being picked up by the audio on this. I need some kind of, we're gonna have to do some kind of, I really want to insulate it. I'm thinking, money's so tight, I spent a bunch of money on the building and the slab. What I might do is just get a couple rolls of, they call it Reflectix. It is a foil-backed, like, bubble wrap, and people recommend it to use as a radiant barrier and moisture barrier before you do any insulating anyway. I really wanted to get spray foam. All my quotes have been just over $7,000. I've got 3 quotes so far. I cannot afford another $7,000 this year. If it was going to be a couple $1,000 I might be able to make it work, but I can't do 7,000. If you spray foamed it, you wouldn't need to use any kind of moisture barrier, any kind of other insulation or vapor barrier underneath of it. The spray foam is that itself. I'm looking into some of the DIY spray foam kits. They're really expensive, and I don't know how it would work to try and spray the ceiling in here. I think it'd be really hard to do spray foam on the ceiling. But the cheapest option is just to use like mineral wool or a fiberglass insulation product and drywall over it. Gives you a pretty high R value. These are 2.5 inch metal columns. So you have 2.5 inches. I think you can get R14 out of faced fiberglass, 2.5 inches thick. And then if you add drywall to it, it adds another couple points on the R value scale. But anyway, I wanted to do a metal roof on this crappy shed right here that needs new siding and a new roof. So I measured it. I said, hey, how much for a sheet of metal? He said $50 for he had a 30-foot sheet and a 20-foot sheet of black, which is what I wanted. I thought they would match. I'll do it in white siding. He said $50 for both sheets. I said sold. I don't know what it's going for. I just figured he had it here, a 30-foot sheet, which is longer than any of my trailers. So then he said, hey, do you want some white stuff too? I have some left over from this job. And I said, yeah. I don't know what I'll do with it, but it's free, so why not? Anyway, and then I finished that, that parking area like I showed before. This is so tall. I would like to add a lean-to at some point. And that being so tall, like you could do anything you wanted with a lean-to. And not have to worry about your height. Because you could have just extended this angle down and still have 7-8 feet of clearance down here, which I would just like it to be able to park a couple of these cars like this 240. I want to keep out of the weather, but I don't know that I want it in the garage all the time, so just give me a covered parking for it. But they sell a lot of add-on lean-to kits. Home Depot actually has some that are aluminum, a couple $1,000. Probably not going to do it this winter, but could do it down the road. Also, just because it's a steel building doesn't mean I can't do a simple wood lean-to. if he would have had more black roofing, I would have used it. Actually, I should measure that since it matches this roof exactly. And if I have enough to do a lean-to, I should just keep that. But I don't think I have enough here. This is a 30-foot sheet and a 20-foot sheet. Even if you only wanted to do an 8-foot lean-to, you know, 3 foot wide, I don't think you'd have enough to really do what you needed to do. But anyway, I'm excited. I'm so excited to have this. This has been a lifelong dream. I'm 40 years old, and I've been working outside since I was 16 years old. Bought my first car in high school. I've been working outside, first in a gravel driveway, and then once we bought this house, I had that smaller shop to work out of, but I couldn't fit a car into it. So I've done all the work on all my stuff here in this driveway, as you've seen if you follow my videos. Now I have a shop big enough to back a car, truck, a trailer into. The cab over should actually fit in there. Maybe we'll get some work done on it in the next year or two. These doors that we're going in, these are 10 feet wide and 9 feet tall. So they'll fit everything I own except for the bucket truck. It's 6 inches too tall. But I can fold the bucket back and still pull the front in. So the only part that wouldn't fit in, I think, is the very top of the bucket. The rest of it should fit in. So I could still pull it in and be able to do work on it and maintenance and stuff. So anyway, I'm excited. Maybe we'll actually get some work done on some of these project trucks we have. Hey guys, so they delivered the garage doors. I went ahead and opened one set of tracks, lay them out, trying to figure out what I'm gonna need to go up to this tall ceiling. I had to go out and buy a 12-foot step ladder to reach it. Hung a single broken shop light up here. It's kind of like bootleg plugged into the meter. It is really cold out today here in West Virginia. Like the high is 25 and the low is like 18 or something. It's very, very cold for November, much colder than usual. Would really like to get these doors in. So the bummer today is, and knowing that I needed to brace this somehow, I went and cut a bunch of pieces to fit in here. We got lots of L brackets there to try and attach them in. So I was going to do, you can kind of see them laying over there. I was going to do 2 on each side because the sides are only 10 feet, and do 4 down the middle because that's less supported, and that's almost 14 feet. So I was measuring things out to put my my blocks in, and I'm like, wait a minute, this spacing doesn't make sense. If you remember the other video, we talked about this being 10-foot sidewalls, which would allow me to run 9-foot doors. Well, here's the bad news. Here's the bad news. I got 8-foot door openings. They are 10 feet wide. I came out to check all the measurements. I was out here with these guys where they were working throughout the day. Tape measure making me look like an idiot. I was out here with these guys where they were working throughout the day. The very last thing they did before they left was cut these door openings. And to be 100% honest, they offered me that that tin, which I bought from them, and I had to go to the ATM to get 50 bucks to give them for the metal because I didn't have any more cash on me. And they cut these door openings there where I was doing that, and they were cleaning up. So I didn't even measure them. They do look short. Now that I look, I think like, well, 10-foot sidewall should only be a foot down from the sidewall, and it's 2 feet down. So I called the company. She's like, oh, okay, so the door openings are in the wrong place. I'm like, no, I told her already they were the wrong size. I don't know. She's like, oh yeah, you'll have to talk to Rose or whoever it is. She's not in right now. I'll take her number. And I'm like, hey, like, I don't want to get the runaround for this. Like, I have doors that have to go in. So it's just such a bummer. Like, I took time off work. I am missing other things in my life because I'm trying to get this straight so I can move things back in. It's like everything I'm working on is on hold right now because of this. Because all my stuff, all my tools are packed away in totes in these in these truck boxes you can see over there, these dry van boxes. I'm just really bummed out, and like for me, making videos is kind of therapeutic, so I'm sharing it with you guys. But the garage doors not being able to go up means I can't enclose and climate control this space. Not being able to do that means I can't coat the floor. Not being able to coat the floor means I can't move my things in. It just pushes everything back. And I'm guessing she's gonna say they can't get up here in the next day or two. It's gonna be sometime, is my guess. It's Thanksgiving week. Think about it, like I could just move those up myself and then hang the garage doors, and then, you know, they can come back and do the trim later. And I don't want to do the extra work. Anyway, just bummed out. The crew was supposed to show up yesterday. They didn't show up. I called. She said they would be there at this afternoon. Yesterday afternoon, they didn't show up. I called after 2 or 3 o'clock. She said, oh, they'll be there at 4 o'clock. They didn't show up at 4. I called again at like 4:30. She said, oh, they'll be there at 6:30. They didn't show up at 6:30. They didn't show up at 7. I kept trying to call over and over again. Nobody answered the phone. I guess they'd already went home. I tried to call maybe 10 times last night until like 8 o'clock. And then they showed up this morning ringing my doorbell at 6 a.m. It was 20 degrees out. They came and they finally trimmed these up. They drug their ladders across my floor here and put a big scratch in it, which is going to get scratched up. I mean, that's fine, but I would rather be the one to scratch it. But they moved those beams up. They didn't even measure. They just went off where I had already hung those. So I was like, slow down, guys. Like, let's get a tape measure. They didn't speak English. I pulled up my tape measure and was like, stop. I measured it, made sure we were right at 9 feet. But, you know, they didn't take down any of the tape. They didn't do anything. They were here 20 minutes max, maybe 15 minutes. It took them more time to get their ladders off the truck than it did to do the job. Crew already left, and of course now they won't answer their phone. So like I said, they cut the garage doors a foot off. So instead of making a new piece of trim, they took the existing 8 foot trim, and then they added a foot underneath of it. So it overlaps like a foot there. I had specifically asked them not to do this, and they had assured me they wouldn't. I didn't even have my contacts in when they showed up this morning. Again, they hadn't notified me that they would be here at all. They said they'd be here last night. They weren't. So now all 4 sections of trim look like that. And to be honest, that looks like crap. Like they're not even screwed in at the bottom. That looks really awful. Like, I'm not super nitpicky, but that's terrible. She was like, well, look, I'm not going to send my guys back up to redo the trim. So I looked up on Home Depot's website. They had some trim similar to this, not exactly like this. $25 per 10-foot section. That would be enough to do this. I said, look, there's 4 sections, 10 foot each, $25. Why don't you just pay me $100 and I'll do it myself? And she was like, yeah, we'll cut you a check and we'll mail it to you. So hopefully that check is in the mail. They just wanted to get rid of me at this point. So $100 off. You know, like, I'd rather just have the 1-piece trim, but I'm not going to redo it. I'm just going to take the $100 and count it as a small victory. I want to seal this floor. You can't seal it. All the sealers have to be above a certain temperature in order to seal. The only way I'm going to be able to get this up to temperature is to be able to close those doors, at least somewhat. So then that opens up a whole nother issue of like flammable vapors and heating the space and stuff like that. But for now, I just need to be able to do some more stuff in here. So probably not going to be a ton happen today. I have some other errands I need to run, but tomorrow maybe. So anyway, that's just an update on the building.